Testing, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Cheers, Colin. So, members, welcome to the last hybrid meeting of the Governance, Resources and Strategy Committee for 2023. Can I ask everyone to please mute their microphones at all times unless invited to speak by myself? For those of you who are physically in the council chamber this evening, can I please remind you that when speaking into your microphone, you need to wait until you see yourself on the screen so the live feed can pick up your comments. If you speak before your image is projected, those listening on the live feed or via Zoom will not hear anything you say. And this is obviously particularly important in the case of a vote being required. I've had apologies from Councillor McClellan and Councillor Kevin Savage. Is there any other apologies from the floor? No. And Mark, bring in, hold on.
Apologies if you heard it already, but Councillor McClellan's not. You got that one?
Declarations of interest, members, happy to take them as we proceed through the meeting. And agenda item 3 then is a presentation by Nilga, and Alison's here to present. So I'll hand over to you, Alison.
Thank you very much, Chair. And just while I'm sharing the screen, it's a pleasure to be here. For those familiar faces that I see around the room, lovely to see you again. And for those I haven't had the opportunity to meet with yet, I look forward to working with you in the coming months. So hopefully you are able to share that or see that. Sorry, apologies. And there we go. So for those who don't know me, my name is Alison Allen. I'm the Chief Executive of Nilga. I've just been in post just under 2 years, so it has been a really enjoyable journey, having been a council officer in a number of councils for 16 years. So it's not like the sector is new to me. And just to share, obviously, that ABC has always been very well represented at leadership level from a Nilga perspective. And you have Alderman Stephen Moutry in the room, who's part of the Nilga political leadership team as well. So ABC's views and opinions are always very well articulated at a regional level in recognition of the size of the council and your ambitions. So very quickly, I just want to run through some of the work that Nilga has done on your behalf, in particular a focus on the things that you have been involved in, and then possibly talk about the ambition for the future and some of the challenges and opportunities. So many of you will have been exposed to some of the work that Nilga has done, and I suppose top of that particular list involves some of our elected member development work, which I'll talk about in a moment, which is about how we build and support the capacity of you as political leaders. We are also the employer's representative for the 11 councils in your negotiations with trade unions in relation to pay at national level. We promote what you do and promote the work of councils through communications, campaigns and events. We represent your interests locally here, regionally, but also nationally with the UK government and internationally and with the EU. We do a lot of work on policy priorities, which are very much aligned to your own policy priorities. And as I say, I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think even so, it's so much more important now that Nilga is in this space to be able to focus on what are your current challenges and opportunities and to be ahead of those and supporting you as a political team, but also your officers in helping enable the sector to be able to take advantage of the opportunities and navigate the significant challenges that we have at the moment. I think it's fair to say. So very quickly running through the detail, as I said, the most important thing for us is that Northern Ireland's voice at a national level in those workforce negotiations doesn't get reduced because we are the smallest region. So obviously we don't carry the numbers. There is one political representative and that was Alderman Audrey Wales in the previous mandate. It's now Councillor Christopher Jackson of Derry City and Strabane. So it's a politically led environment, but that the view of our 11 councils is represented in amongst the views of England and Wales, and that doesn't get lost. And we try to do that very, very strongly, and to have our own identity in relation to the, I suppose, the priority with which we give our workforce, because we all know the staff are the most important asset for any organisation, and certainly that is important for councils as well. I know ABC has had some challenges like other councils with industrial action, and we continue to navigate that environment. But Nilga provided coordination through the course of the last 18 months to all 11 councils so that we could cooperate regionally and share information in a way that meant that our engagements with trade unions were constructive, and that there weren't, different sets of information and getting kind of being played, councils being played off against each other, which sometimes made discussions more difficult. I'm very pleased to say that this council participates very proactively in the elected member development programme, and in the last mandate, 16 of your councillors participated in a range of accredited and non-accredited programmes. And you're very ably represented on the Elected Member Development Network by your chair, actually supported by Lisa Rogan. And that is where it is member-led. The development needs of members obviously are very much about what you as elected reps feel that your development needs are, and officers support that. So every council has a political representative supported by an officer. And just last year, ABC achieved Charter Plus, which is actually the highest award for in recognition of its own work in supporting your development as elected members. And that is a kite mark accreditation recognising the very high standard in which this council invests. Many of these policy challenges will be familiar to you. Obviously, reform of the planning system is key for councils for a whole range of reasons. We understand the bureaucracy associated with the LDP process and have been navigating that with you and your chief executives at DFI level. We give evidence on your behalf to the Public Accounts Committee sessions on the planning system and to the Northern Ireland Audit Office audit of the planning system, and in particular put to bed some strange questions about the role of elected members and conflicts of interest. So that was addressed once and for all and has been put to bed, and we provided information to the committee which hopefully should not raise that query again. And some good practice which is around checklists which are being rolled out at the moment. Climate action is very pertinent, obviously, for councils, not just in your role as local leaders of place and facilitators of your community voluntary sector and your business sector, but also in relation to your own facilities. So our role has been obviously to promote your work at COP26, but more importantly, trying to lobby for additional investment into your facilities, because we know particularly things like leisure centres are very difficult to manage from an energy perspective, and never mind the ability to meet our net zero obligations, which will obviously become a legislative requirement. It is also a financial imperative that we are working on that journey as well. We have received great feedback in relation to the kind of different environments around economic kind of growth and prosperity, and we gave evidence supported by political members on the role of Invest NI and the tensions with that in relation to the role of councils as well as the department, and obviously informing on the housing strategy. And very relevant to you as elected representatives, NILGA promotes and has engaged with the Commissioner in relation to the Code of Conduct and the challenges with the current code and the need for review, particularly around lobbying for changes to that around the time it's taking for complaints to be investigated, which are unsatisfactory for all parties concerned, but also around things like the management of conflicts of interest and perceptions around that, which we think that is a grey area and needs further clarification. And hopefully you will have had the opportunity to engage with the Commissioner's survey there about 8 months ago on the existing code, and that was as a result of that engagement, and it was opportunities to make the existing code work better. Unfortunately, we need political leadership in place at Stormont level to be able to initiate a formal review of the code again, but that is in train. We represent your interests in relation to local government finance, and many of you, if not all, will be aware of NILGA's role in securing well over £100 million for local government during the COVID crisis, which obviously was critical to some councils given the massive drops in income, and obviously then securing the future replacement EU funding, which I think it's fair to say that we have probably been less successful at. I think there's a real democratic deficit in how that funding has been rolled out in Northern Ireland in a way that marks us apart from the rest of GB, in that there is no political input at all, whether it is at local government level or indeed at a Stormont level, into decision making around the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. And I know that all parties are united in that, and we are talking to your ministers on an ongoing basis about that as well. Additionally, NILGA gave evidence on behalf of all 11 councils to the UK COVID-19 inquiry on the work of this sector in preparing, and will continue to do so in relation to the current module, which is Module 2C, which is political decision making. And we do that to avoid unnecessary bureaucracy and burden on you in receiving individual Rule 9 requests. And it's just really the economies of scale and the opportunity to make things a little bit easier for you. And obviously we have partnership panel and NILGA coordinates that for you, but it is very much a council-led initiative. You have a representative on partnership panel, and even in the absence of ministers, the local government side met last week to consider what the priorities should be and how we could improve the effectiveness of partnership panel. I suppose finally, before I move on, Nilga does a range of campaigns and activities, and your council featured very heavily in a campaign called Councils Make It Happen during the COVID-19 pandemic. The purpose of that campaign was to promote the importance of our frontline workers and the critical role they were doing during the pandemic, when so many of us were working from home, but their frontline workers continued to turn up and deliver critical services. Following on from that, we delivered the Be a Councillor, Make a Difference campaign, which is to promote diversity in public life and to encourage people to put themselves forward for candidacy in political parties in advance of the local elections. I suppose with the aspiration that political society should be representative of the society that it represents, particularly with reference to some groups who are underrepresented. And as always, as you would expect for ABC, there was great levels of interest in the Employee of the Year campaign, with a number of nominations from this council doing extremely well, and we hope you'll continue to support that into the future. So Nilga has just recently agreed its corporate plan, and we engaged with you over the summer in relation to that. And I really just wanted to run quickly through what you told us so that you have a sense of our direction over the next 4 years. So we have 4 strategic themes. In essence, the first one is about empowering and resourcing you, which is around giving you the tools to do your job, both at a legislative level in terms of outstanding legislation, more balanced central and local relationships, and also making sure that you have the finance to deliver your role effectively. Empowered and confident councillors is about making sure that you have everything you need to fully participate in the scrutiny role. So obviously democracy in Northern Ireland is underpinned by political primacy. You make the decisions, officers will advise and guide you, and it's very much that partnership approach, but ultimately you set the vision and direction for your areas. So we have a range of learning and development opportunities, and that is about taking that further, and also then supporting the review of the Code of Conduct. The next priority is about, I suppose, the reason we're all here, which is not to kind of live in a bubble, but more importantly, to deliver for people and communities. And we want to ensure that you are able to use Nilga to help empower and support the people and places that you serve. That would include influencing the further devolution of powers and resources to support local democracy and local decision making. Shaping regional and national policy to ensure that it has a local lens, because I suppose everything is very connected to a geography, and making sure that we give you the opportunities to access the tools and skills and opportunities to be able to create the conditions for your local areas in which they can thrive. And finally, I suppose it's a good point to finish the conversation, is about ensuring that you feel that Nilga can be held properly accountable to you. So I've said this in every presentation I've done so far. Nilga is not separate to the sector. Nilga is a member-led organisation. The 11 councils are our members. In essence, you are our shareholders. And everything we do should come from you upwards. So we don't stand alone. We shouldn't have different opinions to the sector. We're very much led by our membership. And it's important that we create really strong connections in that relationship of accountability. And we want to make sure that you are proactively involved in driving everything for the sector. And we think very strongly by doing that, we'll have the opportunity to promote confidence and reinvigorate local democracy. So, Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Alison. And presentation, Alderman Moutry, you're looking in.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Alison, for the presentation. I would need to declare an interest as a member of the Nilga executive, but I think Alison's already outed me in relation to that. So anyway, but can I just, really it's just a comment rather than a question. Can I say, you know, personally, and hopefully I speak on behalf of others, how valuable I have found Nilga's input in relation to member development over this past number of years. And when I look even at this busy time tomorrow in Dungannon, they have a rates review consultation and bringing in specialists from the rating office and other places. And I just want to say, you know, well done, Alison. I think that you are delivering, hopefully, for members, but certainly I find that you are anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Moutry. I concur with those remarks, and I think I was out too as a member of the education group and Nilga. So, Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Chair. Just to declare an interest as well. And just as a new member on to Nilga this year, I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far. And just to congratulate you and your team, Alison. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. Any other questions, members? No, no, you're getting off light, Alison. So once again, thank you very much, and we look forward to working with you moving forward. So thank you very much. Alison. Right, members, agenda item 4.1 is the policy screening report. Martina's going to briefly take us through that.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. Members, this is one of those regular screening reports that you receive on a regular basis, and it is a decision item, however, because you're asked to consider the content of the report and to agree to issue the report to the Council's Equality Consultees, which includes Equality Commission for Northern Ireland, and also to place the report on the Council's website. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Members, I bring in Alderman Moutray.
Opposed, Chair.
Seconded by Councillor O'Dowd. All agreed? Thank you, members. So the next item, agenda item 5.1 is another decision item, and it's Elaine. It's the consultation documents from external organisations.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, members, this is just our monthly external consultation document schedule. It's there as an appendices, and I'm happy to take any comments or questions there may be on it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Members, poser and seconder. Posed by Alderman Moutray, seconded by Councillor Duffy. All agreed? Thank you, members. Agenda item 6, there's correspondence. We have no items of correspondence. So I now need to seek a proposer and a seconder to go into confidential business. Proposed by Councillor O'Dowd, seconded by Councillor Ferguson. Thank you, members. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting has restarted. Can I ask ICT officers to confirm that the feed has now stopped and we're in confidential business? Thank you, Con. We're back on. So members, I've not been notified of any other business items, so that concludes our meeting. Just to thank you all for all your work during 2023 and to wish you and all your families a very happy and lovely Christmas. Thank you very much.